I think for me, a big part of my grief has been realizing I've been fighting really hard to be included in spaces that were not including me. But then once I got there, I didn't want to be there.
Mm.
It's
Mm.
the thing that I thought I wanted that I was fighting hard to get into. Like I don't like I don't like y'all either. One of the most dangerous things that modern life has taught us is that exhaustion is proof that we are really trying hard enough. That if we're tired all the time, if we're always overwhelmed, if we're always emotionally stressed, then that means that we are just the right amount of ambitious, responsible, driven, and successful. That success automatically means that we have to be exhausted. But I don't think our bodies were really ever designed to survive that pace. A lot of people are carrying a lot of stress that's moved beyond inconvenience and become part of our identities. Today's conversation, we're going to talk about that. No productivity hacks, because I don't love them. No optimization, no self-care packaged as consumption. We're going to talk about survival mode. We're going to talk about rest, nervous system exhaustion, spiritual depletion, and what happens when your body starts asking questions your mind has been avoiding. Today, I'm joined by someone very familiar to you all, Ciara Jones, the gardening theologian. Ciara's work sits at the intersection of spirituality, embodiment, emotional honesty, care, and healing. Through storytelling, theology, gardening, and community-centered reflection, she helps people reconnect with themselves outside the demands of performance culture. And honestly, I can't think of a better person to have this conversation with. My pastor. Well, listen, if you're not anyone's pastor, you're definitely my pastor. Let's talk about disconnection and exhaustion and dysregulation.
Yeah.
And the answer is not learning how to push harder, but maybe the answer is learning how to stop surviving and start thriving. Ciara, welcome back to the pod.
Yo, yo, yo. Perfect. First of all, Cass is prolific. Cass is my friend. Cass is my friend. Cass is one of the first people to ever hire me for my business. Cass will email me and tell me how much she loves me and text me. She is one of the reasons I am propped up, and I want to give you those flowers and give you so much gratitude. And I'm so excited to be here. And I think one of the ways that we combat burnout is community. So you're one of the ways I combat burnout is our love. Literally, as I started this podcast, my partner just brought me some pasta. Okay. This is how we combat burnout, care, connection.
So let's talk about, because you're going through a season right now of transition.
Yes.
I want to talk about like what's going on with you, man. Like you've been stressed, my friend. And how is that going? How's your recovery going from being overspent?
Oh man, that's such a good question. And like Cass always gets me out of the like intellectual into the humanity. I had actually, my friend Brian, he called me the other day actually and was like, "You're always intellectual, but you also just have all this personality to show." And it reminded me of you, Cass, because Cass says the same thing to me. So it's nice to be asked human questions by my human bestie. I think yeah, I've been super burnt out. I didn't talk about it much on social media because I still have been running my business, and now I'm back in my business full time. But I had my business full-time self-employment 2021 to 2024, I think 2022, 2024,
Yeah.
full-time self-employed. I was just me. And then when Trump got elected, which was 2024, I believe, this has
Yep.
been the longest freaking 2 years.
Correct.
Recorded time. But when Trump got elected, I didn't know how he would impact my DEI consulting firm, what it would look like. So I went full time back into higher ed while running my consulting firm full time. I ran them both full time. So like for a year, I really worked at 200%, and that caused a lot of burnout for me. I think I'm still thinking through what that year was like. But now I've taken some FMLA leave from work. I highly recommend anyone take FMLA leave if they're stressed. And the choice of taking that leave came from my mom. It came from my partner. It came from Cass. It came from my therapist. Like a lot of people had to tell me you're showing signs of burnout. And this is like, that's why I keep emphasizing community. People had to sound that alarm for me because I think myself and many Black women don't even know the signs that we're burnt out.
Yeah. Was there a time where you noticed stress specifically like in your body?
Yes. Like this is like, maybe this is TMI, but like stress sweat is different than like normal sweat. So like,
Yes. And you're an athlete, so you're better than most in knowing the difference because some of us don't know the difference.
I did run track in college. I do have my, athletic side. And thank you, Cass, for saying. Now I'm a has-been, washed-up athlete.
No, you're not. This woman will call, girl, you will call and be like, "Hey, I'm on a run." And I'm like, "Wait, I can hear your chain jiggling like as you run and you're talking to me. So you're not a washed-up has-been. You're like an active athlete, but what else did you notice that like you were talking about sweats and like
Yes. Well, like,
in your
I
body?
like one, like, I like, yeah, like after my Zoom meetings at work, like I was always sweating. I felt like like I just was sweating profusely all the time. So let me know that maybe I wasn't feeling just something in I wouldn't even necessarily notice my anxiety. Like, I guess my point was it was almost physical. Like now we're on the Zoom, I'm not, or on this call with you, I'm not like super sweaty or disrupted in my body. I'm in my body. I'm happy. I'm connected. So my body was speaking to me through like this, like eustress is good stress and distress is negative stress. Like for example, when an athlete is in the blocks for track, there is stress in the body, but it's eustress. It brings us positive performance. But
Mhm.
also sometimes we were in distress and I couldn't really know the difference. I thought like, well, I'm just like stressed because of workplace performance. But like, yeah, like my body was telling me something. But also like Sunday scaries, I was crying a lot before work. I was crying a lot after work. If I had a meeting, like say I wanted to work out at 12, but I had a meeting at 2, the anticipatory anxiety of that meeting meant like I was kind of almost like catatonic until my 2 p.m. meeting. I couldn't cook for myself. I couldn't get out of the house. I just had all this energy of like, I need to be ready for 2 p.m. It was almost like my body was just always in this fight or flight, is how I would describe
Yeah, yeah, and I think so much we don't expect those things, and I think when you're used to having stress that, "Oh, I can use this." I'm a person one of the things that, like, I thrive in stressful situations. Like, I just do. I have recognized this about myself. I can even, like, in this podcast, I had all these dates and deadlines, and I set this up for myself, but it wasn't until I was like, "I am going to put this out this day," that I was like, now I need to like do the things. And I'll do 50, 11 million things that are not but I'll use that stress to move myself forward. And what you're describing is like the stress was just not usable. It was just there.
Yes. Well, I think that one thing that was really great before Cass and I's pod today is I had therapy today, which was nice. And I have a Black woman therapist. I want to shout out PsyD specifically. I really like working with therapists who have their PsyD. My therapist has her PsyD, I believe. And that just means they really focus on clinical work outside of teaching. And I think that just makes them really astute at seeing where trauma is entangled in us. And she's helped me connect so many things. Like my mother is a baby boomer. So I think a lot of Black children that are children of baby boomers, like there was a very particular way that Black parents parented in that time around excellence being a way that we can subvert white supremacy, around
Mhm.
working hard and expecting to get half as much for twice as much work. Like, and I just think that like I definitely feel like I was parented by that generation. I don't fault my mom. My mom and I have a wonderful relationship. I'm not faulting her for that, but I'm
But
more
it's
naming
something
like,
we can
yeah,
all identify with, right? Like
yeah,
this idea that it doesn't matter what your body is telling you, you just have to keep
you
going
push
because
through.
that's the
That's what our ancestors
expectation.
did.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes, and that's
And
what our
then
moms do.
also in a way to maintain safety, right? Like,
Yes.
I have to be excellent so I can be safe.
Yes, if I can, yes. I mean, all of that, and I related something I talked about in therapy today, similar to what you said, Cass, which is I have always, in many ways, anxiety and perfectionism have driven my performance. Amplifying that voice in my mind that says you are not enough was one way I've driven performance because I'm like, there's always more to show. There's always more perfectionism, and so I think I also not only was the world a white supremacist world always teaching us as Black women that we have something more to prove, I also, I think, made that voice my own. I internalized that voice of if I always think I have something to prove, if I never accept myself fully, that'll drive my work. But over time, that meant that I couldn't quite identify toxic work environments because it was mirroring back to me a negativity that I treat myself with. I couldn't identify a toxic boss because I decided that a negative voice was refining me and making me better. And it wasn't until my therapist was like, girl, you have all these skills. Do you really need an environment that is not healthy to refine your work? Or is the work for you having enough self esteem to leave a negative environment? And that was like paradigm shifting.
Yeah. Yeah. So what do you think happens spiritually when we never fully lean into
Oof, woof, a lot. I mean, oh my God, class. The
Yeah, yeah,
deep
yeah.
I've ever said. I think that we like the biggest thing that I'm learning, and I'm curious, I actually do want to ask this question back to you. It's a good question. I think one is our own identity corrodes. Like I don't have a good sense of self outside of my worth and work. I think I'm really rebuilding worthiness outside of work. Like something that did surprise me on FMLA leave, I'm still on FMLA leave, is how much I have slept. If I don't put something in my day, I will just sleep. And I didn't know I had this much fatigue. So I think it's this disembodiedness. I think I related to my exhaustion as something to kill versus be in relationship with. Like I think I just have become very disembodied spiritually, or my body's signals have become a barrier to work, not something I need to listen to be well. So that's a big one, I would say. What would
Yeah.
you say it is for you?
Yeah, I agree with that. I think the sleep thing is such a interesting marker because I don't sleep well just in general. Like I just even on vacation, I'm still like it's hard for me to fall asleep, but once I am asleep, like I'm out. I'm dead to the world. And I think when I have noticed when my stress markers are higher, that sleep becomes easier, which is like a signal to me that things are not totally in tune. Like I will fall asleep quickly the more stress I have. Like I could lay down, and take a nap.
Interesting.
Yeah, like, and I think I noticed that, and this is something that's recent. It's more of like my body is saying, okay, we're done now. And like now I can, and then later I will pick up the thing to like either mend or fix or whatever that looks like. But I noticed, and actually it's interesting because my ex-husband used to do this. So we would have stressful conversations and it would be so frustrating because we would have them like, let's say, just like laying at bed or whatever. And then I would look over, especially like around money, and he would fall asleep and it used to drive me crazy.
Mhm.
But my therapist at the time, she was like, it's probably because he just really, his nervous system cannot handle the conversation. And so I think it's just such an interesting thing how like our sleep is intertwined with the way our nervous system regulates and how sometimes that's involuntary. So
Yeah.
I'm stressed out. So I'm like, and I don't have things to do, or I'm, have built in structural rest through FMLA. And so my body's like, hey, let's take advantage of all of this, you
Yeah.
know? But then also the guilt that sometimes comes when it's like, I should be doing something, you know?
Well, yeah.
Like, who says? Who says?
But I love this that for us, this stress shows up differently. Right? For you, if you're stressed, you can sleep more. For me, the stress, I sleep less and I lose a lot of weight. I can lose my appetite completely. Like,
Mhm.
I have no appetite for days. I've lost significant weight sometimes when I'm distressed, which I do want to pause there because I also think our society misses women in distress because I'm already a pretty petite woman, but if I lose any weight, I'm even more complimented. So I actually think society misses women in distress because the smaller we get, the more we're praised.
Yeah.
Actually a big
"But you look so good. What are you doing?" It's like
girl, I'm not eating because 'cause I'm dying. Yeah. Like, bitch, I'm stressed as fuck, actually. I'm not
you're
well.
like, "Thank you. I'm emaciated."
Yes, but we talk about that, like, how the number one marker of a healthy woman for our society, it can actually be the number one marker that that woman is actually distressed, like, that
Yes.
she has gotten thin, and I think that's a sickness in itself socially that our behaviors that show up more distress can be socially and societally rewarded, which is, like, fucked up.
Yeah.
But yeah, for me, sleep becomes harder. I stop eating, but I also develop a deep negative self talk. I stop trusting myself and my perception of things. I start over
Mhm.
indexing on other people's approval versus my own. And there's one thing I've told my therapist as I think about likely leaving corporate again full time to go back into my business full time is like it is an identity shift that happens. Like institutions, it's almost like leaving the church. You're not rewarded for it, and institutions do not reward you for leaving. They frame it as a weakness, and it's hard to not internalize that judgment. The last thing I'll say here, for example, is like I left a boss. I've left a few bosses and like they've cried and been distressed about that choice, which can make it about you really feel like you're abandoning an institution. And I was talking about that in therapy. Like I think there can be we have some messed up dynamics too in work that can come in.
Yeah. I think in my entire career, I've had one manager who we're actually friends now still, who after I quit was like, "I'm really proud of you." Like everyone else is like, "I think you're making a mistake. You'll be back. Don't expect your job to be here when you try to come back." Like, just
Yeah.
crazy, like very. But I have seen other people leave the same institution and it'd be like, "Oh, I'm so proud of such and such. They're going on and pursuing their dreams and." All these other kinds of things, and it's so messed up how conversation.
I
Yeah,
think the driver for Black women is a culture that requires too much of them, and a culture that says if we opt out of being super women, then we are nothing. Like that's
yeah,
a hard place to be. And even something I told my therapist today, which I think many Black women worry about. I'm curious your thoughts is I told her I feel like my worry is I'm gonna honor my body into brokenness, or I'm gonna honor my body out of capitalism because it's rare that I haven't had a job that has burned me out, or I haven't had a job that I've experienced deep racism. And I told her, like, am
Yeah.
I just a black woman who can't handle the intersectional pressure of being under the thumb of racism and misogyny? Like I have definitely internalized sometimes there's something wrong with me that I internalize these systems so deeply. And even though I know better, because I would say any black woman that I consult or work with, I would always say, like, your worth is not defined by your ability to handle a sick system, by your ability to withstand a sick system. But I
Yeah.
feel that my own worth is defined by my ability to handle a sick system.
Mm. That's it. That's it right there. Because I even think as I, you know, maneuver my own spaces and try to figure out what's next for me in my career, I do find myself saying, like, I kind of don't want to do any of this. Like, and it's, and not because I'm not capable or because, I feel like I have the markers of success that I set out for myself, I attained already. And I don't
Mm,
necessarily want the pressure of the societal, like, okay, now you're director, you're VP, or, that all that other kind of stuff. I own a home and I have a master's degree and I have a pretty cool kid. And
amazing kid. Her kid is so cool.
and I just, and I live in a safe and healthy environment and all my limbs work. I just feel like is, and on some level that is the bar, right? We want to be, healthy and have like good, place to live and all the other kind of stuff. But also there's a lot of people who are still struggling to get just those things. And why, at what point is good enough? And what will my body recognize as being peaceful rather than always trying to strive to do more for the sake of money? I don't know.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so something I was talking to my therapist about too was like if I relocate to New York with my partner, which I'm very much likely doing and excited about, is like our actually, which is usually not heard of, like our rent in New York is pretty cheap. And it means I wouldn't even need a lot. We wouldn't need a lot to survive here. Honestly, like we could work half time each of us and survive here and be well. And it made me realize that too. I mean, of course, like there are things I want for myself that I want for me and my partner, like home ownership. We like to have children together. So IVF, those things are expensive. They require funding. But I think, I recently watched, I forgot what movie it was, To Make a Killing with Glenn Powell, which I really recommend, or How to Make a Killing or something. It's really good, actually. Glenn Powell, he been doing his little movies I like, but he dates a woman in that movie who says, like, we actually don't live in a society that teaches us to be okay with dreaming smaller and seeing those dreams as worthwhile too. Like, as I kind
Mhm.
of consider opting out of maybe corporate work and corporate ladder, I do feel like the thing I see go with that is like dollar signs and like career and status. And but the cost of that career and status for me has been very high. And I've been realizing that for me, leaving corporate spaces does mean that parts of my identity need to die. But I'm a gardener, so I try to remind myself like sometimes these things are leaves that are already falling off the branch that we are
Yeah.
just shedding. It's not like this violent death, but for myself, I think it's been years in the making that corporate spaces honestly feel a lot like the church to me. They have very rigid way of performance, a rigid way that you need to be good. And if you step out of that framework of that goodness, you are suddenly bad. There can be a lot of punishment and perfectionism. So for me, something about
So,
yes, it's
yeah.
too re-traumatizing. Like,
Yeah.
too much like the church. So I wonder if leaving corporate spaces for me is another realm of deconstruction, and I don't know, I'm curious on
It's
that.
interesting. Yeah. I'm glad that you brought up the gardening because I think that is such a beautiful way of thinking about healing. And, we're recording this at like the beginning of the summer and like things are starting to bloom and, all these like it's beautiful outside and we get to, see all this cool thing, but we forget that just 6 months ago, most of that stuff was dead and like brittle and, barely like holding on under the surface. And now we get to see all these things flourish. And I think it is understanding that life can be cyclical, but that's hard for us when we've been taught that our value comes through our usefulness,
Oof,
you know?
absolutely, and
Because would we say that a tree is not useful when it is
in the
dormant?
fall, yeah, or in the winter, yeah.
We
Mhm.
don't, because it still has it still has its purpose. It's just so much. There's just so much there. Okay, I want to pivot a little bit though. Let's talk about
Wait, can I say
like
just one thing?
yeah, absolutely, friend. Go ahead.
I went on a amazing, like honestly, it was kismet and the divine that right before my FMLA leave, I was invited on like a rest retreat for public theologians, which was an amazing experience, and it was a true rest retreat. It was by an amazing organization called We Are Soul Story, and huge shout out to the founder Erica Wells, who I really think is amazing. I think she's one of the most amazing women in the world. But when she brought us on this rest retreat, she brought in Dr. Tama Bryant to talk to us a lot about how we create rest for ourselves. And one thing that like came up for me as I was there at the retreat was helpful was I do feel like one thing that catapults burnout is being in environments that are not healthy for us. Like something that I started writing in my journal when I was there, which I didn't really thought about, was like a lot of the reasons I've been burned out is because I've been wanting to like resurrect what is dead. Honestly, if I'm honest, my job has been like dead for me for a while, but I've wanted to squeeze myself into that system. And if I'm honest, there's some other things that were burning me out that were dead for a while, but I just needed them to work. It's like my fists were
Nice.
closed and my hands were closed, and I just was like white knuckling this experience. And I think what's helping me move out of burnout, I'm definitely still in it, but move out of it is remembering that the things that are not working, like I said, they're already dead on the vine. Like we think like,
Mhm.
we can never resurrect them. And I think that we think if I stay in this toxic job a little longer, if I stay in this toxic relationship, if I stay in this toxic friend group, it will change. And as a theologian, I believe in reconciliation and rebirth of our relationships. And I think burnout does come when we want what is dead to be resurrected, or we want
Yeah.
what is dead to. And I felt a lot more relief when I just said, this isn't working for me, actually. Like that started to relieve some of the burnout itself, acknowledging just what wasn't working for me, even though maybe I wanted it to,
Yeah. Yeah. And I think the grief of that, right? The like,
grief that you
man,
wanted
I
it to work.
really thought that this was, and even being able to acknowledge that even though it didn't work that particular time and like it worked for as long as it needed to, and letting it go and and being like, you know what, this is not what I wanted, but it did get me to this point, and I thought it would go farther, but now it's not, and that's okay. And grieving what could have been and grieving what was lost can be such actually quite frankly a spiritual experience because it forces you to really look at like your expectations, your own, and reset your expectations. And I think for me a big part of my grief has been realizing I've been fighting really hard to be included in spaces that were not including me, but then once I got there I didn't want to be there.
Mm,
And
mm.
so the thing that I thought I wanted, that I was fighting hard to get into, like, I don't like y'all either.
No, that's a big thing, like, I am very lucky to be someone who has gotten to be on the other side of the veil on a lot of my dreams, like, when I ran D1 track in college, I was so excited about it, and then I realized that, like, I actually to me, my love of the sport was not strong enough to overpower the politics that come in with trying to move towards elite athleticism and D1 sports and potential pro possibilities. I just didn't like the politics enough. There are some athletes that can really handle those politics. For me, it was more harmful to stay in that athlete atmosphere than to leave it. And that was really sad for me because I saw on the other I had worked for years and years and years to get on the other side of that, to get a D1 team. And then I got there and I just was miserable. And I had to realize that fidelity to that dream was actually a lack of fidelity to myself. That like those things are not always the same. And I think we think holding on to a dream no matter what proves a worth in us. But I also think quitting is a type of wisdom. And like what I needed to quit actually was to tell myself, like, I'm so proud of you for getting here. And it's okay that you don't want to stay here. Like there are dreams we're going to get to the other side of that we don't want to stay in. How amazing that you got there and how beautiful that with a new vantage point, you can make a new decision, because
Yeah.
that's what it is. You have a new vantage point to make a
To
new.
so one thing Cassie always says, new information, new decision.
Yes.
I got new
Yes.
information, so I'm gonna make a new decision. And
Yes.
the other thing I live by, and I talk about this in one of my keynotes, is quit every day. Like, it's okay to wake up with all this vigor and this excitement, and I'm going to tackle the day. But then every day you need to be like, I'm done. I quit all of this, because that's just a natural human reaction to just being tired or getting things done, and giving yourself the permission to quit, like, and to say,
Yes.
I don't know, I don't want to. Now, do we still have to, take care of people and like, some of us have, relationships and pets and what, we got to do that. But at the same time, it's okay to say, I don't want this anymore.
Yes, and I think I like what you brought up too, like the relational ecosystem, our responsibility ecosystem. Of course, our ability to quit can be contingent on our circumstances, and but one thing that was helpful for me with my therapist today when I was talking about quitting and my fears of quitting is I was telling Cass, like, I had told my therapist, like, "I can't quit because eventually I wanna have a mortgage and a down payment, and I want IVF for my partner and, like, all those things and for myself." And then she was like, "Okay, girl, but are you in those responsibilities now?" And she said, like, "Let's separate your goals for later from the responsibilities in which you are the ecosystem in which you are making your decisions." She's like, "Right now, what you have is a place where you can go for your housing. You have a whole community that is encouraging you that if you leave your job, they will be there." She's like, "That is the ecosystem you are in." And so I think also for a lot of Black women, because we've also been asked to live with so much individualism, we actually miss the ecosystems of care that we actually do have around us, the people that do want to love us, that do want to.
Yeah.
And my therapist helped me. I was operating this mind of if I make this decision, I'm all on my own. When she said, "Look at all these ways you're actually not on your own." And so we do have, I'm 32, but I am unmarried. I don't have a house, and I don't have. I want to be clear. I'm booed up, okay, but unmarried. I don't have a house, and I
Okay,
don't have
so
kids.
don't slide into your DMs is what you're saying.
I
Unless
was
it's a
business,
business opportunity. A business opportunities we are
exactly.
open to.
If it's
We're
business,
not Capricorns if we don't say,
exactly. But I think yes, I want to say yes. We have those deep responsibilities, and we might miss our pockets of care too. The people that do want to show up, and I'm always just so beautifully surprised by who does want to show up too.
yeah, yeah. And I think you hit it right on the head because those of us who are pushed to the margins, we do carry a very special space because we've inherited these survival strategies. But part of the survival strategy has and will continue to be community aid. Like that just is part of what we do, right? Like one of the things that so, the kid is in cheer. And one of the things that I love about this cheer community, not every cheer mom on the team is like this, but we very much are like, hey, the girls are at practice. I'm about to run to Walmart. Does anybody need anything? Just like
Yeah.
little things like that to like help, this group of people. Oh, like y'all are going to be doing ABC, XYZ at the competition. I brought extra water bottles. If your girl needs a water, I've got like just and we think of it as something that is like big or grandiose, like community needs to be like, I don't know, crowdsourcing money for your mortgage, but that doesn't necessarily happen. It literally is, let me treat you the way that you need to be treated in order to be taken care of, to just like close a couple tabs, you know?
Yes. Yes, it can. Yes, I think I know for myself when Cass helps me. There are definitely times I see myself as a bad friend. Cass knows this because I really like show up for my friends,
I
and if I'm like,
really hate that you say that about yourself because it's so far from the truth, but sure.
but I can
Go
be.
for it.
I think I can add perfectionism to how I show up my friendships, and I do think as a result of social media and a lot of TikTok culture around friendships and stuff, we've done that to each other. I think we can be a little too stern with our friends about what them showing up for us looks like. Like it is true. If you have a busy week, but you can give 30 minutes to talk to your friend who experienced a layoff just to encourage them. Like so much of what we need, especially in this culture and time where things do feel very nihilistic and pessimistic. And as someone who does enjoy Afro pessimism, there's something we gain by being like, this shit sucks. We need to say that sometimes. Like, this shit fucking sucks right now in so many
Yeah,
ways. And like, it doesn't suck as much when I'm talking to Cass. And I remember in the world, people like her exist. It doesn't suck as much when I'm talking to my partner. And I remember, yeah, things are shitty, but look who is still in the world doing the good work. And
yeah,
I think we really undersell what dreaming together looks like right now, but calling your friend who went through a layoff with like, calling your friend who went through a layoff and saying, I still believe in you, friend. Like, can we just hop online for 30 minutes and we look through jobs for a second? Can I look through your
yeah.
resume for a second? Whatever you can lend of your time and spirit, that's really enough, just being there. I love this pod is called Right There With You because I think Cass really lives this out, walking alongside people. I've never been through something that Cass didn't walk alongside me with. And that doesn't mean you have to have all the answers, but I've never felt alone in our friendship. And I think that's really what we want to not be so alone.
Yeah, yeah.
And that helps
I
burnout.
think I think the biggest thing is maintaining this idea because I think the biggest part of how do I want to say this? Um, Burnout to me, in my experience, came really from a constant being in environments that required me to abandon myself.
Mm.
And what really has been healing to me is to be in environments that require me to find myself,
Mm.
right? So this idea that you can't heal in an environment where you can't be yourself means that you got to find an environment where you can be who you are and all the messy, weird, in between, unsure iterations of yourself. And I think that's one of the things that actually, quite frankly, like TikTok and some social media is really great at because you can find your equal weird.
I gotta say something. That's so funny because, I mentioned my friend Brian because we've been doing some more content together, and we just did a video on like Jack Perry and queer theology and stuff.
My gosh, I loved it. I
Oh,
loved it. I
thank
didn't, you know what? And I liked it, but I didn't comment, and I should have. That's my bad.
you. That's never. You're like one of my best friends in the world. You don't have to comment on anything. Uh, but one thing that
Yeah,
we
but
talked about.
because I'm one of your best friends, I'm like, amplify, everybody, watch, listen, like, subscribe.
Don't worry about any of that. Like you do that in my real life. I don't need you to do it online. I
Okay, okay.
personally do, but you do that in my
'Cause
actual.
I'd be feeling bad because sometimes, like, if you come up and I'm like, "I'm gonna come back and watch it later," like, no
Don't
lie, sometimes your videos, I'll be like, "I'm not in the headspace to learn right now.
girl.
I'm
Sometimes I don't
I'm
watch my own
here
back.
for the pimple popping and the cooking videos today."
Girl, I get it. I be giving the intellectual thoughts. Sometimes I don't watch my own video back. Who knows what I said? But when Brian called me after our video, and he's like, "I love this video," and he's like, "Next time, like, he's like, let's be a little weird together." He's like, "Let's be weird little guys together." I'm like, "Yeah, let's be weird little guys." Like, and like we were talking about being weirdos together, and I think good friends also they allow you to bring out your weirdness and your quirkiness. And something I always say about divinity school, I love theologians because like I always call us my friends might not appreciate this like the band kids of or the theater kids of graduate school in some ways. I mean, theaters also has graduate school. I'm sure
Yeah,
band also has a graduate level, but
yes.
I just by that I mean like in popular media, band kids and theater kids are always portrayed as a little bit quirky and march to the beat of their own drum. So do theologians. We tend to be very hippy dippy. We tend to care a lot about social well being. But like I always tell people, I don't care what God you believe in, just don't let it be an asshole. you know, I don't care. I just don't let your God be homophobic and don't let your God be sexist and don't let your God be racist. Otherwise, have or be an atheist or be like I don't have a lot of stake in what people believe. I just want people to be well. And I find that my community is a lot of other hippy dippy people who want people to be well and don't want to prescribe what that wellness looks like. And those are my people. And they help me be well, just being in community with them.
Yeah, yeah, I love that. Well, I want to pause here for a second because if you, my friend, have been listening to this season and this session and realizing, wait, I'm just maybe a little exhausted and I need some new structures and systems in order to design and have better support. That's exactly why I created the Burnout Bundle. It's a guided reset for high performers who are navigating emotional fatigue, chronic overstress, overfunctioning, leadership exhaustion, work-life imbalance, and the pressure to constantly hold everything together. Burnout is not a character flaw, it is a design one. Inside the Burnout Bundle, we unpack how high-functioning burnout, nervous system overload, and self-abandonment is a problem within your process, not an individual one to be solved. It's not about becoming more productive. It's about becoming more honest about what your life actually requires to feel sustainable. Clarity is how we stop surviving the chaos and start leading through it. You can learn more at iamcasscooper.com or in the Patreon. All right, let's get back to the conversation with my pastor, Ciara. Okay, so let's talk about recovery and the things that you're doing to pour into yourself. So I heard being outside more and being in New York. I heard leaning into community and finding joy in the business that you have again. I know you're a big reader. I've seen that you've been out and about on the town. You've been going to some shows.
Yeah.
What are you doing to pour into yourself, friend?
So many good questions. I want to say overall, I think burnout happens when we're too rigid about our
Mm,
identities, period. Like there is a life I imagined for myself when I was 15 that I think I sometimes still hold myself to at 32, even though as Cassie mentions, when we know more, we might feel differently about what it means to maintain the status quo or maintain the identity or maintain the work. And what I'm learning about myself is maybe I'm not who I thought I was in the best way, that I'm not someone that wants to hustle 80 hours a week in a corporate job or 60 hours a week corporate job, but I
I
am
mean, who
happy.
wants to?
Who wants it? Some people don't really thrive in that. And so I'm realizing that some of the ideas that I thought about myself were too rigid, and I need to allow myself to shed that skin like a snake or shed those leaves like a tree so that something else can come forward. Like what I love
Yeah.
about trees shedding their leaves and snakes shedding their skin is it all rebirths, it all comes back. It's just like a garden. It comes back about, and actually all that death composts the soil, it composts our life. So I think letting us remembering that white supremacy says for things to be good, they must exist in perpetuity. And that's a very narrow idea of something being good. Or lastly, I want to highlight my favorite plant is agave plants. They death bloom when they die. Built this huge tree. It exists for like 6 months. It's stunning. Like agave plants are kind of small. Not small. I mean, they're pretty big hedges. But then when they die, yeah, a 60 to 200-foot tree sprouts out of them, and it's there for a few months. It's a sign that it's dying, but it goes out beautifully. It goes out in bloom, and
Mm.
leaving can be something we do in bloom. It doesn't just have to be when we're at the pits of ourselves. We can leave in bloom, and that's okay.
Yeah.
In that vein, things I'm doing to recover with myself, I think one, like trying to remember to celebrate milestones again. Like my social media has been doing really great, and I can't even really feel a dopamine hit or happiness around that because I think I'm just like always on the next thing. And but remembering every like is a connection. So slowing down again, remembering to connect one on one with people, to appreciate every single person who connects with my work, remembering to value individuals and not numbers, because that's white supremacy, quantity over quality. But well-being is quality over quantity. Who can we connect with in a good way? So slowing down and valuing one-on-one connection. I've been talking a lot more to strangers on the street, having little one-on-one chats. And
I could never. And maybe part of it is living in Texas because you see a stranger on the street. It's why are you walking?
I'm gonna tell you this one. I'll tell you a story right now. We were just at a play, which one thing I've been art. Okay, I want to say this real quick. Seeing other people's brilliance, getting out of this idea, I need to be the brilliant thing,
Yeah.
going to witness another's brilliance. One of my old advisors always says genius is collective. So when I'm not feeling inspired, let me go get someone else's freaking genius. Going to book readings in my town. We went to go see the Hamilton 10-year anniversary. We just saw Black Swan's opening. Watching these brilliant artists who I know, I learned after that talk or after the Black Swan opening, that has been 10 years in the making. How beautiful to learn about someone
Mm.
else's 10-year journey to bring something to life. How cool to remember hope through them. So
Yeah.
I'd say that. And then at that show, speaking of talking to a stranger, I saw these two people standing next to each other, and like I thought they were friends. Like I thought they were lovers, to be honest, like a couple. So I was like, it was open bar, y'all. So I was getting litty, and I was like getting them a little open drink, and I was like, oh, you guys are such a beautiful couple. And they're like, we're not together. I said, you guys should be together. You look so cute. The girl texted me the next day because we exchanged his number. She's like, girl, we got together. That's like I'm like
Not the gardening matchmaker.
I think like also just like having I've had so many amazing conversations and connections lately that I've not been connected to work at all. I've
Yeah.
not been connected to my professional value at all. Going to the gym and not focusing on being perfect, but just moving my body, enjoying my body. My partner and I have been going for just long walks in the evening. We'll just walk for like 45 minutes throughout New York. I think getting back into awe and wonder and like I said, really and like I said, amplifying someone else. Like we live in a culture now where we think the coolest thing to do is be contrarian. The coolest thing you can do is go online and say, thank you for your work to this person. Let me amplify this person's work. And you could do that in real life too. And I found connecting with strangers and complimenting other folks and being in other people's joy has been very inspiring.
Yeah. So speaking, I love that about art in general. And I think one of the misnomers about Texas is that there is no art. There's art everywhere. And I think one of the things that I've really enjoyed is going to the museums. And the museums in Fort Worth, most of them are free. And you can just go in and walk around and have a cool experience.
Yes.
And they have programming and book clubs. And two things. One, I found this Black owned bookstore that's right around the way from my house. Never knew it was there. I've lived in this house for going on 7 years. It's 10 minutes away. It's in this cute little shopping center. And, it's everything a Black owned bookstore should be. It smells like patchouli and incense. It's got, everything from like all the classics. But then I went in there and in there like, then they had all this, like they were like, "These are queer theories and, like, queer Black, like, art and literature," that you should read. And like, I got Janet Mock's biography, which I didn't even know she wrote a book. You know what I mean? So it's like, it's being able to do that. And then the other one I want to give a shout out is I went to Drunk Black History last night. Have you heard of this?
Well, they used to do it as Funny or Die used to do it, right? Like, they
Well,
used to do
they
history, they
no,
did
they did drunk history. This is drunk Black history.
okay, got
When
it.
I tell you, and I didn't realize that part of their tour is they bring in local stories. And this one was all about Black Music Month and local Black history and music. And it was just a really, really cool little experience. And all because I was like, oh, this looks fun. And let me just get outside. I think we think about having to recover about becoming less, but really it's about becoming more connected to each other and to ourselves. And that leaves space for more and for more abundance.
Nice. I mean, like, one of my big I love this. I love that advice about getting to your museum, your local library. Y'all, local
Mhm.
libraries have like one of my good friends is a librarian and my grandmother's a librarian. I love librarians and they are so cool. Go by your local if you're an adult, go read some YA fiction. Okay. Go travel
Yeah.
to a freaking magical world and with wizards and goblins. You know what I'm saying?
Whimsical. Be
Yeah, go
whimsical,
whimsy,
damn
damn
it.
it. Yeah, get the whimsy in your day. But I mean it, like, go be whimsy, go be a kid, go play, go pick up a bat like, something we haven't done one recently because okay, I'm from Oakland, okay? There's a lot of public basketball courts you should go and play. These New York people are different, okay? Every court is always filled up. It's hard to get into a game, so I don't know where I'm gonna find a court here, but in Oakland, I love getting a ball and just going to the park. Gay kickball is a big thing. Gay pool is a big thing. Like, whatever your identities are too, yeah, there's something for you, and I think as adults, we don't make enough time for that, but I also think we forget that I think if our jobs don't allow us to make enough time for that, we should think about whether that's the right space for us. I know that. So I'm not saying anyone should make a rash decision, but like truly, like when I was working my last job, something I've been thinking about since I've been on leave is like that job was well paying. It sustained me and I couldn't really enjoy it. Like, like it's like I'm stressed overspend to go to the spa on a Saturday because I'm like, it actually like even though like the salary has been great. Being able to have time to manage my finances has been less because it was such an intense job, and I'm very financially type A, which I didn't like. But also the cost of that burnout every weekend was high. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
I live 90 minutes from my mother, and I hadn't really been seeing her because of work stress, or it felt like any pocket of rest I got had to be mine. I couldn't really be a full community member because
Yeah.
I wasn't well with my stress.
Yeah. Okay. So last question. Well, two questions quickly. One, what is bringing you hope?
I think actually realizing I think my therapist helped me really think about today how I've had this hustler mentality to out of this fear that if I don't hustle, I can't sustain the life that I need. And she actually made me realize I actually don't need to like if I want a sustainable, safe life, I don't need to achieve all the things I thought I needed to achieve financially or in my own status. But what I do have to let maybe die is my idea that achieving those financial markers or status is all that I am. And so I think what's giving me hope
Mm,
is like I can allow a new identity to bloom and I'm excited to get to know myself again. Like I think a lot of what I've been living in, especially at 32, have been the dreams and goals of my teenage self and my 20-year-old self working so hard to bring that to fruition for so long. And now I have this amazing opportunity to reimagine my life. And I think like it was failure to reimagine at 32, but now I realize like that is gift
yeah.
to reimagine
Uh,
to do my 20s again with more faculties and more wisdom and more community. So rebirth has been giving me hope. And my community has been giving me hope. Getting to be on this podcast with you and seeing you thrive and seeing you build this amazing thing and getting to be a part of it gives me hope. And seeing my partner build her dream gives me hope. My brother has a new man. Okay. They've been giving me hope. Okay. My mom said she wanted to retire from her job. That's giving me hope. So I think just looking at how people in my own community are living out their boldness and their dreams is giving me a lot of hope too.
yeah. Do you have any chaos that you're whispering to specifically?
Yeah, that voice, like I said, that voice that says a simpler, easier life where maybe there is less applause and less status isn't enough. Like something Zorla Hurston says in her work, like if I didn't define myself for myself, I'd be crushed into other people's fantasies of me and eaten alive. And I think I've been living in some ways, and even like my mother has changed a lot from the respectability politics mother of my youth to this like really gentle parent in my adulthood. And I think in some ways I'm living out the childhood parenting I received versus allowing that to die too, as me and my mother's dynamic has changed. And she has given me a new permission to live out my dreams and be myself that she didn't quite give in childhood, and accepting that new permission. And my brother has changed a lot around his relationship to work, and just seeing all that permission around me. I forgot your question now, but I think seeing the permission around me around like, what is changing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it sounds like you're whispering to the chaos you're whispering to is giving yourself permission, like
Yes.
finding that permission to say
Yes.
yes to yourself.
Yes, I'm whispering back. I'm whispering the chaos that says that more is always better, that output is my identity, and that professional is all that I am. I'm trying to
Yeah.
break all that down. So one, I can make better choices that aren't from franticness, especially as a business owner. That isn't from a frantic place, isn't from a choose me place, isn't that I need more to be worthy place, but a true place of grounded self-esteem. So whispering to that chaos that says, I need to be superwoman to be worthy. All Black women should whisper to that part of themselves. I love the work of the NAP ministry, so she helps me a lot. Her work always feels very aspirational to me as someone who struggles so much to rest. And but I really do think her work is a great North Star for burnout. So,
Ugh, well, friend, we have to eventually come to a close.
or maybe one tool you're using to combat burnout. One or the other.
Well, the tools that I'm using to combat burn, honestly, it is giving myself the grace to not be available all the time.
Hmm.
Like,
Hmm.
it's okay for me to not be available and be available to so that I can be available to myself.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. The thing that stood out most, I think, to me in this conversation is that we're not failing at life. Most of us are just trying to survive environments that really reward disconnection from ourselves. And eventually, your body is going to respond, your mind is going to react, your spirit is going to react. And it's not because you're weak, it's because you are fully human. Healing starts the moment we stop trying to treat exhaustion like a professional flaw, and start asking better questions about the systems that are shaping our lives and the lives that we want to live in the future. If this episode gave you language for something you've been carrying, the Burnout Bundle was built exactly for that kind of season. You can find out more information on my website, iamcasscooper.com. Thank you so much for listening. If this episode gave you language for something you've been carrying, I'm so glad. Remember that clarity is a skill and it's one that you can build, but you got to build it in community. Let's go deeper together inside of the Patreon. You can find the link in the show notes. Be sure to turn on your notifications, like, subscribe, share, all the things. Leave me a comment. I really do read every single one of them. If something really stood out to you, I'd love to hear about it. If not, you can keep it to yourself. I appreciate the engagement though. Until next time, remember, stop reacting and start interpreting.